Welcome to Daily Persuasion. Today is a very special day for unknown reasons to most people. There's things going on today, events, activities, happenings and happenstances that you may or may not be aware of, depending upon where you are in the world and what your particular persuasion is. So, getting that out of the way, you might have questions about today's topic, as you should. A couple of weeks ago, Elon Musk announced that individuals in swing states, so a swing state is a state that is quite a few voters that are Democrats and quite a few voters who are Republican, and they're about the same likely to vote, and so it's kind of a toss-up. It's a swing, meaning it could go either way. Think North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and so on. And Musk announced that voters, citizens in those states who signed his free speech, or specifically First Amendment and Second Amendment support petition, would be automatically entered to win $1 million. $1 million per day starting. I think it was the first was October 19th was the first one. Wow. Okay, so that's on top of if you're in a swing state and you register a voter, you would receive $100, or if you registered others, then it would be $47. Something like that was the award. I might have the details wrong, but you kind of get the idea here. And I am, as you may or not be able to tell, probably not. You might have to guess, just a little bit of guessing. I am a Elon Musk fan. I would like to do a book with him at some point, actually. It would be called How to Die on Mars, Just Not Upon Impact. Something like that. Now, if you wanted to do something that is Robert Goddard-esque, we would do fiction, a novel, a saga set on Mars, the future Mars civilization, and the likeliest antagonists that civilization, that breakaway civilization, or supported civilization, Mars colony would face. Now, I mentioned Robert Goddard. Don't worry, we're going to come back to the $1 million a day and the beautiful persuasion behind it and what that means for you in your life, business, and your career. And the response to it, by the way, which is fun. The inventor of rockets, Robert Goddard, his first rocket was in 1926. 98 years later, Musk launched and caught a 23-story skyscraper. Yeah, wow. Robert Goddard, as a youngster, read the Jules Verne novel, From Earth to the Moon. And it was, as far as we know, the first mainstream for public audiences, public consumption, novel or story or sci-fi, back when sci-fi wasn't recognized as a genre yet. It was the first story of a lunar landing. Now, here's what's interesting. The way that the astronauts, the travelers, got from the Earth to the moon was being launched out of a giant cannon. This is how people thought about projectiles, right? Massive cannon, they launched them in the air. Well, Robert Goddard reading this, most likely, and we don't know if this is the book that he read, but we believe that given that he read books about launching rockets and rockets didn't exist yet, and he thought, well, I'll create something that doesn't exist because I was inspired as a boy by reading sci-fi, and what age he was and when that book came out, it's likely that's the one that he read. Now, the first rocket Robert Goddard built, 1926. You can see all parts of the United States Air Force Museum, also called the National Museum of the United States Air Force. It's down the road. It's like 1, 2, 3 turns away from where I live. 4? Something like that. Yeah, 4 turns. Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. There's a building on the base right there where every time I drive by it, I remember the story of that's where my grandfather, a colonel in the United States Air Force, or the Army Air Corps at the time, I think he was a lieutenant. That's where he met my future grandmother, in that building right there in the corner office. A little family history right there, one of the buildings that's on the base. Aviation's been a part of my family. You know, there is a monument to my grandfather's squadron from the Second World War, and my father worked on several items that are currently on display inside the museum. Like, we'll be walking through the museum with my dad and be like, oh, I worked on that. I did the schematics for that. I did that. That took 3 years to work on. I did this. And every single thing you see except for that, was my project. I programmed this, I programmed that. Like, that's pretty cool. Walking around with your parent, your father specifically, and seeing all the stuff that he built. And then bringing my son with me and him, the three of us going, and him telling my son, his grandson, all the different things that he built. That's special. That's special. So we've opened several loops here, and don't worry, we're going to close all of them one at a time. Robert Goddard realized that Jules Verne, the author, had it completely backwards. Instead of launching a cannonball or a capsule from the cannon, you take that cannon, turn it upside down. Because humans can't survive the force of all that combustion, all that. But what happens inside of a cannon? A human cannot survive that. I'm not science and STEM enabled enough to be able to explain why. But a lot of explosion is happening way too close to the organic matter of a human body. That's not going to fly. Literally. Haha. So he said, what if we turn it upside down? What if we launch the cannon? Instead of blasting upwards, what if we blasted downwards? Well, how's that going to work? Well, you have to make it lighter. Obviously, you can't use iron. Okay. Let's use much, much, much lighter material. Make it smaller. Okay. Small scale tests first. So he did. Well, if we use gunpowder or the like, what's going to happen? Well, what's going to happen is you're going to have not sustained thrust. You're going to have a lot of thrust all at once, and then your deceleration is going to occur. Okay, so you're not getting very high. You're not getting very high very far. So what burns slowly? And then this is the normie friendly version of the story. This is the STEM challenged version of the story. But that's okay. We're all friends here, all adults here. We can handle that. The first rocket had a slow burning fuel, alcohol. If you see the diagram, there's two what look to be like hoses or two supplies into the rocket of alcohol and liquid oxygen, both going up into the rocket, where the igniting of these materials happens and the burning occurs. And it's a sustained burning so that you don't have an explosion of thrust all at once, but it can keep thrusting and thrusting and thrusting and thrusting. Okay, that sounded weird. Family show. And it can continue. And it can continue rising. Sorry. And it will proceed to go up and up and up and up. Oh, damn it. It will be a rocket, okay? It will be a rocket. It will go up and up and up and up. Rocket, sorry. It'll be a rocket. Jeez. So it is going to be a rocket. And it worked. It worked. Why? Sci-fi. So my Occupy Mars, I'm Elon Musk cosplay. My suggestion, we could do the nonfiction book about all your mental models, Elon Musk. I'll work with you on that. I love to. Elon Musk with Joshua Lisec. But the alternative is to do a novel where you write about sorts of technologies that will need to exist that don't exist yet, and what they could look like and what they could be, and that be an immersive experience for readers. Maybe it's a graphic novel as well, or it's just a novel and it's a saga, it's a series. Kind of like the John Carter of Mars series, it's multiple novels, but obviously not these sort of humanoidish like creatures. If you saw the John Carter movie by Disney, which was quite good, on par with a Star Wars prequel in terms of special effects and script writing and just enjoyment, right? When you're a kid and you watch The Phantom Menace, you love it. Jar Jar is hilarious. When you watch it as a child-free, childless adult, you can't stand it and think Jar Jar is stupid. Then when you're an adult with a child, you love The Phantom Menace and think Jar Jar is hilarious. So there would be a novel series that I'm up for doing with Elon Musk. We'll see how that pans out. I did a series, as you know, of If I Were the Ghostwriter. One of them, I did 6. One of the 6 was Jack Posobiec, Jack Posobiec's ghostwriter. Joshua Lisec and Jack Posobiec. And this is our second book we did in 1 year. Less than 1 year after. It was actually 6 months after I did the thread saying if I were Jack Posobiec's ghostwriter, here's the next book I would do with him. And not the exact same direction of the subject, but parallel to that subject is what we ended up co-authoring a book on, and it was a New York Times bestseller, the #1 best-selling book in the country, the very week of the Trump assassination attempt. And that was our next book. Assassination attempts, I should say, because happened again 2 months later. This is what they do every single time. Okay, orderbulletproof.com is also available for pre-order. And this image, by the way, is important today, of all days, for no particular reason, besides the obvious. Now, I mentioned at the outset, there's a lesson from this $1 million a day of Elon Musk with his America PAC. He has a couple of other PACs. And I met one of his employees. He drove me when I was in North Carolina at Selma at the Reawaken tour. I spoke to a crowd of 2,000 people. It's the biggest crowd I've spoken to ever, and it's been more than 7 years since I spoke to a crowd more than 100 people since my TEDx talk. Check it out on YouTube. It's called How to Create Your Dream Job from Scratch. You know it's going to be based on that based title. So with Elon, he has great people working for him. The lesson there is a Star Wars Phantom Menace prequel meme. Do you remember when one of the Viceroy is speaking with the Phantom Menace himself, aka Darth Sidious, on the hologramish, whatever it is, projection, and the Viceroy says to Darth Sidious, "But my lord, is that legal?" Just like that. And Darth Sidious says, "Yes, I will make it legal." That, while in that particular film is a dark message, the message of my first book with Jack Posobiec is to use the same tactics of the enemy against them. It's called reciprocity. This is why there was not a thermonuclear World War III with the Soviet Union, between the Soviet Union and the United States and her allies. It's because they both had nukes. And the consequence of using nukes was yourself getting nuked. That's why neither side did. The communists had to infiltrate key institutions and governments around the world to try to rot them from inside. A sort of a termite-ly tactic that has largely worked in the West, where it's a cultural Marxist institutions of government, media, entertainment, education, so on, business, so on and so forth. But it takes great men like Elon Musk to say, "Not on my watch." Or as Francisco Franco said, "Wherever I am, there will be no communism." Or as Elon Musk might say, "Wherever I am, there will be no woke mind virus." That's what he likes to say. So the lesson with this $1 million a day, wait, you can do that? He said on Sunday the 20th, the reason he's doing the $1 million a day giveaway was maximum awareness of the First and Second Amendment petition that you're petitioning to support it, as well as vote Trump. Maximum awareness. What's the best way to get maximum awareness? Giving away randomly $1 million for more than 2 weeks out, actually. That's 15, 16, 17, 18, I think $18 million if I have the number correctly. And that's not even from the $47, $100 payouts. 47, right? Because it's Trump, 47 president, right? Aha. Elon's great. And he was wild at the Butler rally. Jack Posobiec and I were there pre-release promoting Bulletproof. The lesson for you here is you can play by the old rules, or you can make the other side say, "Is that legal?" Then, of course, Governor Josh Shapiro went on MSNBC, he's a Democrat, on Sunday the 20th of October, talking about how law enforcement needs to look into this. Law enforcement really needs to see if this is legal. I don't know about this, blah, 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 blah. This looks illegal. Oh, you need to have law enforcement look into this. Okay, so that's my Josh Shapiro, a.k.a. Joshy, impression. But my lord, is it legal meme in real life, right? And, of course, as the person cosplaying as Elon Musk now would like to say, what we have from Elon is decision making of galactic proportions. I believe that Elon Musk knows that if Trump loses, he is toast, as are his businesses. He joked on his interview with Tucker Carlson that got, I don't know, 100 million views by this point. Wild. Just wild. He joked with Tucker that if Trump loses, how many years in prison am I going to get? Yeah. Political prisoners. This is what Jack Posobiec and I wrote about in Unhumans, about the attempts to dehumanize and to strip the human rights away from political opponents of the far left, and that they've been doing this for 250 years. Steve Bannon wrote the foreword to the book, and 2 days before the book came out, he was sent to prison for the very crime that his prosecutor, Merrick Garland, had himself committed and served no time for. This is what they do every single time. In your life, and of course that's not to mention Peter Navarro, George Papadopoulos, the list goes on. Of course, Trump himself being the convicted felon and all these indictments and all these felonies, blah, 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 all these accusations, blah, 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 blah. And then they tried to shoot him twice, at least. And then Representative Matt Gaetz revealed in the days following Butler that there have been 5 active assassination teams operating on American soil, trying to take him out. Both foreign and domestic ties. Crazy. So the book Bulletproof covers that. But there's a particular call to action I issue to you today, which is above and beyond if you live in the United States and are a U.S. citizen, wink, wink. And I think you know what that is. It is going to be this picture. I want you to look at this picture. What does this picture tell you to do? Do it. Prequel meme. And also, in your world, you can do crazy things. You can give away $1 million, assuming it's legal and you've got the legal counsel that's confirming you can do that. For me, that's writing these long Twitter threads, then now X threads, about famous people that if I wanted to do a book with them, here's how I would do it. Here's what it would be titled. And I even created fake book covers with my name on them. Is that legal? I will make it legal. So I made it. I did it. And I've got 1 for 6. So I've got 5 more to go, people. The other ones were books with Joe Rogan, Alex Jones, Tucker Carlson, Elon Musk, obviously, and Donald J. Trump. That one would be something like America 2076. It would come out in 2026, most likely, or at the end of his term, should he succeed. And that book would be the vision for the future of this country in a world where freedom cities are made possible, like a manifesto for the golden age of the tricentennial of the country. What does the golden age, 300 years, look like? We defy the odds as a country. We beat the 200-year timeline of a democracy because we became a constitutional republic and we strayed from that, but then we returned to that. This is what we do. Do it.